Hey, everybody. Welcome to This and That with Maggie and Ryan. We are
Hi,
your
everybody.
awesome hosts, and we have an amazing guest this week. Maggie, you want to tell them who we have?
I do. Hi, everybody, and welcome to This and That with Maggie Ryan. We have the incomparable Scotty Banks today, and so let's bring him in. Hello, Scotty. Welcome
Scotty.
to This and That with Ryan and Maggie. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
We're great. Thank you
Good,
so much
brother.
for being here. We
Oh,
really
thanks for
appreciate
having
it.
me. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. All right, so let's start out this week. The big, monumental, historic, groundbreaking news. Ketanji Brown Jackson, baby.
I know.
She has been confirmed.
Thank God for that.
Oh, such a historic moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Such a historic moment.
I said as soon as it happened, I'm really glad that my daughter growing up is gonna grow up and be able to look at the Supreme Court and be like, oh, somebody that looks like me is on the Supreme Court. Oh, look, somebody that looks
Absolutely.
like me is vice president. Oh, it's just it's a great time for women. It's a great time for women of color. It's a great time for America, for at least over half of us, I think. Uh, but it really is. It sucked to see that it still went down in a pretty much partisan way, especially considering the woman's qualifications and experience. But I guess for most of us that was probably expected, right, Scotty?
Yeah. I mean, you look at the vote. I mean, 53-47. It was really only the three Republicans who had come out and said they were going to support the vote. And I think it's important to note that they came out and said that the day after Manchin and Cinema had indicated they were going to vote yes. So they had no skin in the game. It was clearly a popular opinion grab, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to look like the good Republican.
The centrist Republican, yeah.
Mitt Romney has been beating that drum, since he got in, and he's been trying to fill John McCain's shoes and be the maverick of the Republican Party, ever since McCain passed. But I think an important thing to point out here is with midterms coming up, there's a lot of apathy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of midterms. Democrats don't generally show up anyway.
Yeah.
But with all that apathy, and all of that, anti-Biden, he's not doing anything, right? I think it's important to point out that her appointment happened because of another woman of color, because of Stacey Abrams. Stacey Abrams being in the trenches in Georgia, knocking on doors, fighting voter suppression, getting people registered, getting them to the polls, getting them their mail-in ballots, making sure they filled them out correctly, making sure they got to the ballot box, and flipping those two seats and giving us the 50 seats.
Tell them, Scotty. Tell them.
Ow!
And how does that happen? That happens through voting. All right. And, to make the point even larger, everything that Biden had promised, the police reform bill, the Voting Rights Act, legalizing marijuana, the insulin price cap bill, they're all sitting in the Senate ready to die. Right? Why? Because we only have 50 seats.
Truth.
The only way you get 60 is by voting.
Yep.
That is so true. Going back to what Ryan said, I'm just going to say representation absolutely matters.
Mm-hmm.
And, having Ketanji Brown Jackson now sitting on the Supreme Court, I feel empowered. I feel empowered seeing more, even, a woman just being there. It's to me, it felt so good. It was that kind of feeling that I felt when Kamala Harris got elected. Mm-hmm. Seeing a woman out there, being a woman myself, seeing that kind of representation is absolutely just inspiring. And I hope that we continue down this road and we continue this. And like Scotty said, thank you, Stacey Abrams, for, charting that course and being part of the movement. Absolutely.
Well, and I would even say thank you, Georgia, because had we not won those two Senate seats, we also would have been in trouble, because then McConnell likely would have been able to just say, screw it, and kept it up for 3 years. So, like I said, everything matters. Every single election matters because we never know what it's going to come down to. We never know which way somebody's going to vote for either party. So, it's even more important now that we put the right people in these positions.
And I definitely want to point out, I mean, since we're talking about Ketanji Brown Jackson, the decorum in that room when the Republicans stood up, has all decorum just left? Is this how we act now? Is this how these?
Well, we're living in
how deplorable is that? A woman gets confirmed, and not even for a second could they stand and just be there.
Appreciate
they had to
the moment.
Appreciate anything. Yep. The historic relevance of it. Even they got up and walked away. I
think the simple answer is everything, especially in today, this social media, podcast, live stream world, everything is political theater in one way, shape, or form. That goes for both sides. But in this instance, what we're talking about is that was political theater. It was bullshit. Sorry. And it was a time where, once again, we as Americans, at least majority of us could have come together and been like, pat each other on the back and been like, hey, this is a good thing, and we should all be happy that this happened. Can't even freaking do that. These are leaders that are showing everybody that it's okay to act like this.
Well, it's kind of the I don't want to say dumbing down, but it's the simplification. It's the simplification of politics in the country, right? And where did it start? It started, in my opinion, with Reagan and the Fairness Doctrine, right? He got rid of the Fairness Doctrine where news media reported factual news. Yeah. And now the Fairness Doctrine is gone, and then we started having cable news channels that had political bias. You had your Fox News, and we're guilty of it ourselves. We have our MSNBC. You have your news that's tailored to your political bent, right? And now with the advent of social media, people don't read articles; they read headlines. It's all about the clicks. It's all about the quick little meme, right? So everything is about, as Ryan said, political theater, and the amount of critical thinking that goes into reading an article, getting all the facts, and deciphering for yourself what it means has gone out the window. You're being told what to think now.
Yep, absolutely.
Well, and at the end of the day, we're gonna always have these, two sides fighting it out. But even for just one moment, I mean, that's what I think gets me here, is that even for one moment, it still has to be. They just want us pitted against each other. We can't have, even for one moment, one thing to celebrate in this country. And thank goodness for, somebody like Mitt Romney, who is, the new champion of, decorum, and the Democrats standing and clapping and waiting for, everything to be done. But everyone walking out, it's just pitiful to me, really. It just sends such a terrible message. And what is it against Ketanji Brown Jackson that they don't like?
She's black.
That's the quiet part out loud. But to them, she's well. That's the thing. To them, she's not qualified, right? Whereas you show the qualifications, woman she checks every box.
Did you watch some of them vote? They're like, well, after looking, I really like her. She's great. She's qualified. Yeah, but I'm still going to vote no. Are you people serious?
It was baffling to me to watch every one of these people get up on a pulpit and be like, and then you've seen the graphic a million times where they show you each justice that's currently serving on the bench and what their qualifications are in a graph compared to hers. Yes. She is the most qualified.
Well, she checks every box. Like you said, Ryan, all these people are sitting there saying, I like her. I think she's great. Oh, she's a wonderful person, super great, but I'm going to just go with no.
Yeah. We're still going to be political pricks, and we're still going to vote no, simply because we're going to play the race game, and we're going to play the fear game, and we're going to play up to our constituents, which is bullshit. It's total BS.
Did you see her speech, though?
I actually didn't get to see her speech yet.
Okay, well, it is, for anyone out there watching, it's very moving. She points out the historical importance of this. She
Yeah.
said it's taken so many years and so many justices for a Black woman to get on the Supreme Court, but here I am. It is incredibly moving.
It gives, just hearing that actually just gave me goosebumps because it,
Absolutely
again,
too.
it brings me back to Kamala Harris, and watching her be sworn in as VP. It's equally as historic. It really truly is. And
Absolutely.
it's, I don't want to say the wrong thing because I don't want to say it wrong, but at the same time, I kind of hate. I love watching these women acknowledge the people that have come before them, but it really, at the same time, I feel this sadness that every time that you see these powerful, qualified, awesome Black women stand up, or just women of color, it's not even just Black women, they always end up talking about the fact that they stand on the shoulders of others, and it's like they all recognize that. They all recognize the hardship and
you just hit that right there.
Yeah.
Right there.
And
Have you ever heard a man say, thank you to all the other people that came before me?
Shit, I hadn't even thought. Yeah, fair.
But the door has always been open for us.
Sure.
Exactly.
So we don't know what it looks like for that door to be closed. So we don't have to acknowledge the person that opened that door, because that happened
because it was
centuries
never closed.
ago.
I'll never forget the tears that I had when Hillary lost, because the tears in the morning were, oh my God, I'm going to go to sleep tonight. We're going to have our first female president. And then the tears later of, dun, 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 the worst thing just happened on the universe, in the universe.
I remember.
So I went to sleep. I went to sleep pretty much feeling the same way. My wife stayed up to watch the votes coming in. And at some point, there was just a, no! And
staying up for heartbreak.
I jumped up and I went running.
Like somebody breaking in?
What happened? And she told me, and she's like, he's going to win. And I'm like,
I went to bed.
That's like one of those, like, where were you when this happened? Like,
Right.
Where were you when this historic moment happened? Where were you when you found out Trump won?
I got to tell you, I went to bed. I didn't go to bed thinking she had it in the bag. I don't know. I don't remember why, but I remember that I went to bed like looking at Jen like, man, I hope we wake up and this turns out okay. Like I remember saying that to her.
But everybody, it was as far as you looked at the polls, like
it looked like she had it.
Like Nate Silver is never wrong, and he, you look, he's got it in the bag. He says she's got it in the bag, and he's never wrong. And now, like, I won't watch. Like, I go to 538, and I'm like, yeah, that looks nice. We'll see. Like, now everything has got a cast of doubt on it. Like, it looks nice right now.
Because I think, and correct me if I don't want to speak for everybody, but for me, I really never thought that man could win. I thought there were enough Americans that would see through it, and wow, was I wrong.
I actually really didn't even think in my heart of hearts that he wanted to win.
I don't think he did. I don't think he did.
I thought that it was like he wanted. It started out as a really good, like, show, and just like Hillary Clinton always said, this man loves to talk about why he didn't win, why someone cheated him out of it, but then he actually wins, and he's like, oh farts, I have to actually do this job now. Oh no!
So fun fact. I at one point worked for the man.
For Trump?
Yeah.
How did I not know this? How did I not know this is long?
Story time with Scotty Banks.
I don't give a shit if it's sweeping floors, bro. I got to hear this.
So I was a security officer in one of the buildings he owned in the city that he happened to be living in with Marla right before Tiffany was born, while his apartment in Trump Tower was still being built.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
did you speak to him often?
I didn't. I spoke to Marla a few times. I never spoke to him. He, every so often, he would come down to the basement where the security booth was. He would come down to the basement, and the door would open, and he would just poke his head out just to see that we were where we were supposed to be.
All right, and what time was this? Because when I get my time machine, I'm going to come to you, and we're going to fix all these problems.
Oh man,
Yeah.
wouldn't that be nice? We'd all
but
wake up magically in the world. would be
Any
like,
time,
what
location,
happened? What
place.
changed? Yeah.
But my theory on why he won, honestly, is because that undercurrent of racism, that undercurrent of sexism, that Archie Bunker mentality,
Mm.
right? We as a society beat that under the carpet. Like, you can't say that out loud. You can think it, but you can't say
You can vote it when yeah.
You can think it, but you can't say it. And now here comes this guy, grabs the microphone and just says it. Not only says it, but says it's okay to say it and it's okay for you to say it.
Yeah.
And all these people were like, ooh, it's like a weight's been lifted off. I'm voting for that guy.
Oh, sure.
And that's what happened.
Well, they love it. They go, oh, he tells it like it is. He's like a regular guy.
The bad thing too
He's a racist.
is that it wasn't just one thing. It's all those things you just listed, Scotty. But on top of it too, the one thing I'll never be able to let go of or forget, and I'll probably remind people about until the day I die, is that the FBI came out days before the election and said they were reopening the investigation into Hillary Clinton, and it was over nothing. It was really over nothing.
We found some additional emails.
Yeah, we found some additional info, and we're reopening the investigation for 70% of Americans.
They did her in.
That was like, oh shit. And any voter that was on the fence, they just pushed over into Trump.
You're so right.
It was a perfect storm, right? So
it absolutely was.
It was that, and Hillary didn't, her campaign strategy. She left the Rust Belt alone. She never went up there and campaigned for the Rust Belt. We've got that in the bag. We don't need to spend time over there. So those were some miscalculations on her part as well. And then you had the Bernie Sanders, the progressives, who were like, oh, the DNC robbed him, and they did him dirty, and if he's not going to be in it, I'm not going to vote for her. And I mean,
it's such a huge problem.
You look at it;
That's
it was 70,000 votes amongst 3 key states. That was the difference. She won the popular vote, but electorally, it broke down to 70,000 votes in 3 states.
Well,
and you look at those 3 states, you look at the 2 third-party candidates, because they were the same third-party candidates in 2012. And you look at their vote totals in those 3 states, they tripled. So to say that it wasn't people voting third party that could have caused Trump to win, statistically and mathematically, that doesn't bear fruit.
Yep. Unfortunately. And if we don't watch it, we're going to have the same problem again.
I was just about to say, in the midterms, I mean, the Republicans are really good at doing what they do to, get the votes where they need the votes to be got. I mean, they have made, I was talking to Scotty before you came on, Ryan. We're going to see the effects of all these voter suppression laws and gerrymandering, that they have put so much effort into the last few years. We're going to see the effects of that in this next election. And if we don't get Democrats to come out to vote in droves. But some of it won't even matter because they have redistricted so many places that it won't matter. They have it in the bag in certain places now.
Well, before we move on, because that was one of the reasons I wanted to have Scotty on in the first place, was really to drive home, because I think you jumped into one of my lives and you made a couple of comments about the vote, and that's really what I wanted to talk about, because that's what everything else is whatever. Like, we can talk about it, but in a really weird, stupid way. It's all political theater unless we talk about how we're going to fix it. So, Scotty had some good comments in one of my lives, which is what I wanted to talk about. So, I mean, what do you think the biggest issue that we're going to have here in the next 6 months with elections?
So, we need to refocus the lens, right? Everything it's Biden's fault. It's Biden's fault. Well, Biden. Biden's not up for election in 2022. All right. So let's stop talking about Biden. And now let me ask, now that you're clear he's not doing anything, let me ask you a question. If in 2020 we took 60 seats instead of 50, and the Build Back Better bill without, with the $50,000 of student loan forgiveness passed without having to be, picked apart to get everybody to say yes, right? If that had passed, if the infrastructure bill had passed, if unmolested, if the voting rights bill passed, if the police reform bill passed, if the legalizing marijuana bill passed, if the price cap insulin bill passed, if all of these things passed, right, would you still be saying Biden didn't do anything?
Or calling us do nothing Democrats?
Right. So then let me ask you, is it really about Biden? Because he's waiting for this thing to hit his desk, and it doesn't hit his desk until the Senate and it passes Congress.
I
right?
think at this point, though, it has less to do with the things that are actually being done or not done. They have already vilified him. They literally call him Brandon. I mean,
but
I think we're actually past the point of actual, like, trying to get knowledge and actual facts to these people. Because, I mean, right now, we all know that it's not Biden's fault that gas prices are high.
No,
but
I don't.
Guess what? The sing song will continue to be.
But I don't know. That's
his
the
fault,
point,
right?
I don't know that we all know that, because they push that narrative so much, and the more you repeat something, the more people start believing it, right?
Yeah.
So that's I think one of the biggest faults that we have as Democrats, as the left, is that we don't go low, right? We rise above, we turn the other cheek. I think at this point, like, we are so polarized at this point that, often when I have conversations with somebody who's a third party person, okay, you're not going to vote Democrat. Okay. So what's your plan? Well, but the Democrat, no, that's not what I asked you. What's your plan?
Yeah.
You don't have one. You just hate Democrats. So how do you get to this magical utopia that you dream of through a third party candidate when our system is literally built with laws to eradicate third parties? How do you get to your utopia? Okay. So now that we've reached the fact that you don't have a plan, this is the reality. There are two boxes. There's a red box and a blue box. All the other little shoe boxes on the floor, they're there. We can't say they're not there, but they do nothing. Everybody gets a marble, and the box with the most marbles wins. And that's as simple as you can possibly make it. So if your marble was going to go in the blue box and you decide to put it anywhere else, you have empowered the other side. And we already know what they want to do. All right. We may not always get it right, but they are always going to get it wrong. So what is it that you want to do? And often either the light bulb is going to go off or it's not. And at that point, you walk away. All right. But you hope you at least got them thinking.
But I want to go back to what you said about the whole adage of Democrats need to go high when they go low. I've really started pushing back on that. And I got to find the video to put it on my TikTok, but there's a video of Michelle Obama even saying, she's like, look, that was then, we were
This
running
now, yeah.
We were running a much different campaign in 2007, 2008. It was
true.
about getting the first black man, to be president, and you couldn't have him being the angry black man in any arena if you're running for president. And he knew that. The campaign knew that. And that was why they said that. But now, like Scotty said, the divide is so wide that it's pick a side time, and it's time to start punching people in the face. As much as we hate, as much as you may not like that, this is a war, and I need people to start looking at it in terms of a political soldier. Okay. Mm-hmm. When we go to war, a lot of times people that are there don't want to be there. There are soldiers that look around, they're like, why are we here? Like, what are we fighting for? It doesn't make sense. Why are we hurting these people? It doesn't mean they want to do it, but they're doing their job. Guess what, guys? We got to win these freaking elections. So I need you to start thinking about this as a war. I need you to get ready, because it's coming. It really, truly,
but when you're but it feels like a battle that is unfair. It's like an unfair battle of wits, because you can come to you may come to somebody with as much factual information as you have, right? Or actual footage of something that happens. And yet people, when it doesn't align with what they want or they believe, I think there's the line has been drawn in the sand where, and it's a lot of unspoken things of what people want and what people stand for in this country now. Because perfect example, and I wanted to find a segue into this one. Like, what Madison Cawthorn came out talking about the Republicans this week, having coke-filled orgy parties. You know what people are doing? La 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 la. Or anything to do with, Clarence Thomas and Ginny Thomas. La 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 la. Like, facts don't matter to certain things, and we're not playing a fair game here, because what do we have to do? We can't. The only way we can fight is getting out there and voting ourselves. I don't know. We can't change anybody's mind. I don't know. It doesn't feel like that to me. I feel like if we could have changed somebody's mind, it would have already been done.
But you know what? I mean, so first of all, I will curse Madison Cawthorn every day of the week and twice on Sunday for putting the image of McConnell and Lindsey Graham coked up having orgies.
Don't forget about Marsha Blackburn.
Marsha, I mean, yeah,
I've been really trying, baby.
So, but I'm going to tell you, if I'm the person running against Madison Cawthorn, my campaign flyer is a picture of Madison with a big old white smear across the bottom of his nose. All right, because you don't play nice, like you don't. That is now my campaign slogan.
I hear that, but because, you know what? I don't think they care. That's what I'm saying. I don't think they care. They're going to be like,
care or not. I mean, so two books that I think speak to what we're talking about. Like Ezra Klein wrote "Why We're Polarized," and it goes into both parties for decades and the little things that brought us to where we are now. Mm-hmm. And Dan Pfeiffer, and I can't remember the name of his book, but Dan Pfeiffer was Obama's campaign manager, and he wrote a book. And both of them said the only way we get back to the equilibrium that we used to have is there's got to be a radical action on the left, right? Because radical actions then make the Republicans unelectable, and it has to pull that party now more to the center to become more palatable. And that's the only way you kind of bring that schism back together, right? So if you were to make DC and Puerto Rico states, you've now added senators, you've now added congressmen, all right? Yeah. You've now added federal districts, which would need another Supreme Court.
Oh, I'm here for that. Yeah.
Right. So it has a domino effect, right? But those are radical actions, and those only happen if you have a supermajority. All right. So these are all things that could happen, and it would cripple the Republican Party. They would have to come more centrist. They would have to come away from fascism to become palatable again. And that's where you start. And that's where you.
I was just about to say that's why everything they do is they cheat so they can win, because they know they come out and say it all the time. We wouldn't win if we didn't cheat.
Yep. Yeah, I mean,
they know.
It's the reality, and we have to find this interesting, I'll use your word, equilibrium of using our platforms, especially this term, especially this cycle, these midterms. We have to do more than just vote. I see a lot of people are like, oh, just show up and vote. It's so much more than that, guys. Enough. It's so much more than that. It's getting everybody to vote. Like, if you can do it, get a bus full of people, take them, get them to vote. Like, there's so many other things we need to do besides just tell people to vote. You need to tell them, use your platform. If you have 100 followers, I don't care. Tell those 100 followers what's going on. Share somebody's stuff that is more informed than you. There's thousands of people on Twitter whose stuff I share because they're much more informed than I am. There's nothing wrong with that. Just use what we have. And I feel like the Democrats, and again, I'm going to speak for myself only. I feel like the Democrats aren't using the tools that we have. I really feel that way.
I can see that. But another point is we have to acknowledge our own faults, right? We can't be the party. We can't be like the other side, like what Maggie was saying. Like, oh, we're not going to talk about that. We're going to pretend that didn't happen. Like, we
But
can't.
we
We
already
can't
aren't
be.
though.
But we can't be the party that like we're allowing 100,000 Ukrainian refugees, right?
Mhm.
There's a war over there. Absolutely, they should absolutely come. But nobody's asking why we sent plane loads of Haitians back to Haiti. You
Mhm.
know, nobody's asking why we didn't let Syrians come,
Some of it's
or
political theater.
or
So true.
Rwandans seek shelter when their country was being genocided, right? So, and it plays into the right because now they can paint the narrative. Oh, so when they don't look like you, when they don't look like white Europeans, we say no, right? It plays in. We have to hold our own accountable.
Yeah,
Well,
but
you
that
know what?
talking
You
point
know,
coming from the Republicans wouldn't fly very far.
yeah.
Fair
Well,
enough,
they are the party of hypocrisy. So
but
they can start slinging that all they want, and there
No, I
are
mean it's a
definitely
fair
some.
point. I mean it's a fair
There
point.
are fair
It
points.
just
There's a lot of things that Democrats do that are. It's not.
but you also
It's
hear it
not
from
not hypocritical.
our own side though, right? Like
Mhm.
we're not progressive enough. We put Biden's a centrist, and we can't
all the
get
time, all
get
the
we
time.
couldn't get Bernie. We couldn't get well. I
Still,
mean, in my opinion, honestly, in 2020, I was working for the Warren campaign. I was on Slack. I was doing bulk.
that's what I
I
was
was
for.
doing bulk texting, bulk calling. I was trying to get the vote out for
Yeah.
Warren, right? And things were looking good for her. And then Bernie was like, "Well, no, I could do it better." And he entered and he split the progressive vote between the two of them and shot them both in the foot, right?
Yep.
But like we couldn't get Bernie for president. Okay, well, who's your assemblyman? I don't know. Who's your school chancellor? I don't know. Who's your local court judge? I don't know. When is their term up? I don't know. That's where it starts. Start
Yeah.
getting progressives in those seats. Start
Mhm.
filling those seats in your local area. Go to your community center. Like
Yep.
Ryan said, it's more than just voting.
Yep.
Start flipping seats. Start changing the body of the party more progressive. And once you have more progressives in the party will then bend to the left.
Yeah.
Right now, it's mostly made up of moderates. So it's going to cater that way.
Yep.
Well, let's hope that our democracy lives long enough for us to continue this good fight.
Yeah.
I mean,
Absolutely.
in a world right now where we're literally fighting fascism at our front door in our own country, it's
And
pretty wild now, right?
and it's wild to me that it's so clear that that's where they're going.
Oh yeah.
And yet like it's like the Pied Piper and Lemmings, the right just keeps following them. Like, do you not see where you're headed?
Well, and while we're talking about this particular topic, I want to bring up what we saw before we jumped on, which is the January 6th rally planner, Ali Alexander, is cooperating with the Justice Department's investigation. He says that he had help from multiple GOP lawmakers, including Rep. Gozer, Brooks, and Andy Biggs, who, of course, are from my lovely state. Well, two of them are.
Yeah.
There are too many people in America that don't see what's going on. Between this, but the two gentlemen, let me not call them gentlemen. The two idiots who were acquitted today in Michigan. That to me was another like, holy crap, are we really seeing this happen? Like they planned to kidnap a sitting governor. They planned to blow up the capital areas around the state capitol for distractions, I think it was.
Yeah.
No, don't quote me on. I know it was they wanted to use explosives. I just don't know what for. And they acquitted these guys, and two of them, the jury's deadlocked.
And apparently, the evidence was like so overwhelming, and people are like, "Why is this? How did this even happen?" And it should terrify people. That one, because Ryan, you sent that to me, and I dove into it for a while. It should terrify us that with the level of evidence that was there, and the prosecution pretty much had it is slam dunk here. And the fact that we've got 2 acquittals on this, and for Gretchen Whitmer's attempted kidnapping, insane.
What do you think, Scott?
Insane.
Yeah, I mean, it should absolutely rock us to our core, but it doesn't. And why doesn't it? Right?
Because we have to wait
It
for
doesn't.
the next,
It doesn't,
because the
it
next
do-
day is going to bring us something just as crazy. Just wait.
No. He's going somewhere
No,
different with it.
It doesn't because no charges filed against the officer who killed Amir Locke, right? It doesn't because of, and I forget their name. Was it Bundy? I forget their names. That took a federal building. It was a what was it? A animal conservation building. They took that and they held that. People died and they filed no charges against them. Found them innocent rather, right? We're seeing things. They even I think I read today one of the January 6th rioters got their gun rights back. So yeah,
We're going to deserve
America.
what happens next.
Exactly, America.
We're going to
it
deserve
absolutely should rock us to our core. But given that we keep getting beaten over the head with what should be slam dunks and aren't, like this is now the new norm. Well, this is what should happen, but based on prior actions, this is what's actually going to happen. Like you come to expect it now.
Yep.
Well, and I feel like we keep getting our hopes up for any kind of accountability. I mean, we could name a million things that need to be accounted for, and it's just a consistent letdown at this point.
As I'm sitting here listening to you guys, respond, it's the thing that popped into my head is, holy crap, these guys literally planned and almost succeeded in kidnapping Governor Whitmer, and they get nothing. They get acquitted.
Yeah.
How many people of color are sitting in jail over an ounce of weed, and they've been there for 5 years, but planning to kidnap a government official and damn near go through with it? No big deal. Don't worry about it.
And to further that point, the people that were arrested or serving time that have served their time and been released now can't get a job to feed their families because they have that on their record.
Yep.
These guys are going to have nothing on their record.
Nothing.
Acquitted.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, I mean, how could we think anything less? I mean, we literally watch people plan a coup on our government and pretty much get away with it with slaps on the wrist for most of them. I mean,
well, it's still happening. I mean, look,
erecting gallows, doing the craziest kind of stuff. I mean, no accountability. And the people high up in it that we still keep thinking, or, you just talked to me earlier about Don Jr. and text messages with Mark Meadows the day before. I mean, do you think anything will come
here too, doesn't it?
I know that Ivanka did her testimony this week. She had like 8 hours of
did
testimony.
She finally do her deposition?
She did. She did her deposition this week. I'm sure she just pled the fifth and sat there a bunch and went, my father, my father.
Yeah, the Elizabeth Holmes. I can't recall. I can't recall.
But I mean, will any of these people face anything for any of this? Probably not.
Probably.
And that's the scary thing. I mean, as much as I want to see them in jail, probably not going to happen.
Go ahead, Scotty.
The only hope I'm holding out for any kind of accountability on the Trumps is here in New York. The AG here in New York, Letitia James,
civil lawsuit.
She's rabid to get, to not let go. She will not.
Thank God.
But even the Southern District of New York, the AG there, like that whole team that was gathering up his, evading his taxes and all that, like they all quit. Like that.
Yeah, Manhattan pretty much bowed out of it.
They bowed out of it.
Yeah, they pretty much
it's really just Letitia James is the only one who's still going after it.
And that to me is the craziest part, is that there's really no criminal investigations that he's looking at the moment. The only thing, I have a new theory, and this is my new theory, and I God, I hope I'm right, is that the Justice Department is really taking their fucking time, and they're going to find a way to pin him on January 6th somehow. If that happens, and
from your lips,
right? But there's 7 hours of missing audio. We've got Don Jr. texting Mark Meadows on November 5th, was it? Talking about how they can keep Trump in office if they lose the election.
We owned it all, right? That was in the text. We owned it all.
We basically, he told them, we have the power. We can do this. Is basically what he
I
said.
actually truly believe that these people are so delusional in their ability to kind of, I truly think that they don't think that there's anything wrong with what they do. And that is actually partially the problem. So you have someone like Don Jr., who is clearly, violating things and doing like laws that he shouldn't be interfering with elections and doing things. But he would say, well, what's wrong with that? It's the same with, anyone that does these kind of things out in the open. They'd be, well, what's wrong with that?
Let me ask you this though,
right?
Maggie.
Like nobody cares.
Do you think it's that they don't know, or that they know and they know they're going to get away with it?
I think that they don't care. And I think that they think if they do it, it's right. If what they want is right and what they do is above law. That's what I think.
I think that they have in their lifetimes repeatedly seen that they will not face consequences whenever they do something like that. That it's ingrained in them that they can get away with anything because it's repeatedly shown to them that they can get away with anything. And speaking of the Department of Justice, I gotta say, I'm not really all that jazzed about Merrick Garland. I mean,
I know a lot of people aren't.
I felt horrible about what they did to him when he was nominated for the Supreme Court, and obviously being, the head of the Department of Justice is not the same as a lifetime appointment. But like this guy, he came out like a bull in a china shop, right? I'm going to go after Governor Abbott for his abortion law, and then they backed off it. We're going to go after this, and then they backed off it. Like, with Trump, like maybe they're biding their time. I don't think they're biding their time. I think they have no intention of actually going after him.
He kind of came out recently saying that, they're going to follow this as high up as it needs to go, no matter how high up the food chain kind of thing, which I think gives people a false hope that this is actually that he will go after Trump.
But I think that's what it was intended to do.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's just putting it, it's like
the reality,
slapping a Band-Aid over it and be like, well, we're trying.
The reality for me is, and I'm going to use the word satisfied. I will not be satisfied until people like Andy Biggs, Gozer, and Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert and Madison Cawthorn and the people that we freaking know, you freaking know that they did it. Okay. So it's like
TikTok, bring that in here.
Hey, I'm glad y'all caught that.
You knew.
But damn, I totally lost what the hell I was going with that now.
Sorry, Ryan.
Thinking about that.
No, Madison Cawthorn, all of them until
all these people they know. And they played a part in this. And until we see the people with the actual power that actually were making the calls, sending the texts, pulling the strings, those are the people that I want to see. Because right now, there are several of them that are sitting in Congress. And that is terrifying because you have literal insurrectionists, traitors.
And on the Supreme Court for God's sakes.
You saw Green.
Just insane.
You saw Green was like, talking about the appointment of Justice Jackson, that talking about Romney and Collins and Murkowski, that they're okay with pedophilia. Apparently there was a question about these trans legislations that are happening and about, these children and whatnot. And however it was, or however she previously ruled on certain cases or whatever, they tried to make it sound like she's okay with pedophilia, right? So Marjorie Taylor Greene makes that accusation that if you're voting for her, you're voting for pedophilia. Who is she currently on tour with?
Matt Gaetz, baby. The one and only pedophile of all pedophiles.
And they're all for the children and protecting the children. We can't say gay because that can hurt the children. But what kind of laws are they pushing recently? What are the laws they're pushing for? Child marriage?
Oh, the Tennessee one?
The Tennessee child marriage laws?
Yeah, lowering
Republicans
the age to marry.
They're lowering the age to marry. So, but we're all for protecting the children, though.
Oh yeah.
Like the hypocrisy is so thick.
Oh, I did.
And
Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I just don't. I just like it's so thick in your face, and they just don't. I guess they're so mired in it, they don't see it.
One of my biggest posts this week was doing the GOP hypocrisy hotline, and it was just people calling in talking about hypocritical things, and at the end I was like, can't hear you, like because they just ignore it. I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene, her statement this week against Morawski, Collins, and Romney about being pedophiles, and then did you hear Jimmy Kimmel made a joke about her, and then she wanted the DC police to come and like protect her from called the police.
She got me banned for 12 hours on Twitter. I responded to that tweet and I got banned or suspended. Really? I'm sorry. I got suspended on. Do you know how many times I've been suspended on Twitter? Once.
Marjorie Taylor Greene?
Marjorie freaking Taylor Greene.
God, she's the worst. She is the worst. And if we can get her out, then that would be a happy day for me.
You know what I said? I said Jimmy just said what we're all thinking. Yeah. I got suspended for that.
Yeah,
you're a treasonous.
No, she's the worst of the worst.
Yeah, I went after Candace Owens on Twitter and got suspended once.
But that'll do it too. Candace Owens, the two pages I've seen that really will mess people's accounts up is Candace Owens and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Like they talk all this crap, but the minute somebody comes at them, they're like, "Oh, block, report."
It's like,
she probably just has one person sitting on her Twitter all day. That's their job as her person, just to report people all day long. I can imagine it.
She's Regina from Mean Girls.
She has a burn book and everything. This bitch is the ugliest slut.
You can't sit with us.
Yeah.
We only wear pink. We only wear camo on Wednesdays.
So I'm going to tell y'all here, because I know we're going to start to wrap it up. I want to just point out how ridiculous it is that we are sitting here in April of 2022 still talking about this fucking guy. When is it going to end? When are we?
Never.
We voted this out. He's still not gone. Can you please just go away?
Because he had another rally again this week. That's the sick part. The fact that he had another rally this week. He loves to be relevant and grift, obviously.
I read that the GOP's trying to get to his $100 million war chest, and he's not coughing any up.
I bet he's not. Why?
No, I mean, he's not going to cough any of that up. But I mean, if you really think about it, as horrible as he is, right? He has advanced the Republican agenda, right, that they have been pushing for decades. He has advanced it in 4 years further than any Republican president was able to combined. He took the Supreme Court and made it overwhelmingly conservative, right? He lowered taxes. He made the country so that they could pursue their agenda. That's why you're seeing all these anti-LGBT bills. That's why you're seeing all of these abortion bills. All right, because
most of the bills are written by the same organizations. They just send them to different states.
Well, the midterms are coming. They're all just playing for their base.
Sorry, go ahead, Scotty. I'm sorry.
No. This is nothing to be sorry about. But I mean, they're not writing these bills because they think they're just going to pass. So everybody's just going to put, oh well, I guess there's nothing we can do. No, they want people to fight them so that they get to Trump's Supreme Court. That's why these bills are being written. All right. So he has advanced their agenda further than anybody else has done, which is why we're still talking about him.
Yep. They're challenging Roe v. Wade. They're like, all of it. Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of things, I'm going to pivot off Trump. Speaking of things that have been talked to death, I want to move to a non-political topic, the Oscars. It just came out today that Will Smith is now banned from the Oscars for 10 years.
And
as a consequence for the slap heard around the world.
I think in less than an hour, he issued a statement in response to that where he was very contrite, I fully accept the decision.
Good for him.
Which, I mean, doesn't really have a choice, does he? But I do have to point out one thing, because I think people are split down the line on this 50-50. Was it too excessive? Was it too much? Was it just right? Whatever. I'm really torn on it personally, because I think there have been some really good points made about people that look a lot like us doing just as bad, if not worse shit at the Oscars, and them never getting banned, not even for a year.
Harvey Weinstein.
Fuck, I mean, there's several of them that have done different things, but if you want to talk about, let's talk about Clint Eastwood and John Wayne, who literally threatened, what's her name, the indigenous lady that showed up to accept Marlon Brando's Oscar.
Oh yeah.
They lost their ever-loving minds over that, and they literally threatened her life and trying to drag her off the stage. So where was the outrage for that?
Word.
But no,
that Will was Smith, a long time ago.
It was a different time.
It was a different time.
No. Let's not shrug this off as it was a different time. Okay.
No. I'm not saying it like that. But
no. Hang on.
People don't account
because that's what people are saying on my Twitter. Oh,
no, but the accountability. I'm talking about the accountability at that time was way less. People really didn't give people any accountability for anything, and that's what I mean by a different time. I don't think it's different time.
So we're going to start now with the black guy.
Well, that's the thing. That doesn't make it any better.
10 years, a freaking decade.
It's a long time for sure. I think it's very hard.
At least they let him keep the Oscar. I'm
here with that.
My opinion on that was that there's nuances and there's all kinds of theories and whatnot, and that's not my place to weigh into. But what I am upset about is that is what we're talking about when we're talking about the Oscars, and not the fact that the first Latina openly gay woman won an Oscar for I forget the play, Rita Moreno's role.
The first queer, I think because
she gave an amazing speech. All right, we're not talking about the fact that Louis C.K. has won an award for his comedy album. We're not talking about the fact that Marilyn Manson with Kanye West won an award for their collaboration. Both Louis C.K. and Marilyn Manson being accused of being sexual.
Oh yeah, I didn't know about that. See, that's news to me.
And don't forget about who was the guy, the deaf gentleman who won.
Yes,
he was the first deaf guy since Maitland.
Marley Maitland.
Thank you. Thank you. So I mean, that was another one. So yeah, there were really awesome things.
And it was the Oscars. The director, the person who put the show together, was a person of color.
Yep.
And it was the first time in history that was done, and that was overshadowed. And all we're talking about.
And he had a really great vision for it. He wanted people to really be immersed in the movies, and he brought just certain people on to really kind of make it flow.
The hosts.
Yes.
Let's not forget about the all female hosts, and I thought they did a good job.
It was an amazing show, but
all got overshadowed.
That 3 minutes is all anybody's going to talk about now. That's all they're going to remember.
Well, Amy Schumer just came out with she talked about a joke that she wanted to say out there, and it's not going over well with people. Go look it up. It's
Amy Schumer is in my opinion she's a garbage person. She's very
she had a joke that she wanted to say and they told her she couldn't say, and it was a very harsh joke, and I won't say it on here, but check it out if you're interested. So there are other things that are coming out, but Will Smith, this whole thing, I think it's just been kind of devastating. I do feel for him. I in so many ways. I hope
he gets some help for whatever's going on, because that's
absolutely,
and that, again, that's coming from somebody who I struggle with mental health myself, but there was something that just wasn't normal. That's not a normal reaction. Like, most of us would be like, okay, I'm gonna see you backstage when this is over. Like, that's how most people handle like stuff. If you're gonna confront somebody, you do it, you don't do it in front of 100 million people or however many people were watching. You go handle it like men somewhere else if you really had a problem with it.
And you know what? Sorry, someone just put, I feel for Chris Rock too. I think we're not denying. Absolutely. We are.
The videos that and I didn't think of it at the time, I'll be dead honest with you, but the videos that have, it's like a replay, an NFL replay. We've watched it 800 times now. But the videos of Chris Rock, like after, when Questlove was coming up to take his Oscar and all that, like, you can see it on his face. He's like he's looking at people like, what just happened? Like, it took a solid minute for it to process what the hell just happened. And again, I'm going to say it just like a lot of people have. He was a professional. He handled it better than I bet 90% of the people in that room would have handled it.
He still came out with a joke right after. He says, well, this is the greatest night in television. That says a lot.
The way he handled it, he walked away from that with a lot of people's respect. He's probably going to get some movie roles over that.
Oh, he's already sold out shows. I mean, they're charging who go back. So
he handled it well. So yeah, he deserves some credit and some support too. And like I said, I really do, whether you agree with what the Academy did or not, I do hope Will Smith gets some help, because he's clearly got some pent up stuff going on, and it just sucks that it was released in front of the world like that.
I definitely think that, if this is, you brought up a great point about, who else is not being held accountable for things. Just because this became a hot topic, other things probably need to be accounted for.
So I think we're going to, I just came up with this. Don't let me lose it. So we're going to ban Will Smith from the Oscars for 10 years, but we're not going to ban Donald Trump from running for president again after. Just want to make sure I got that right.
Yep.
Yeah. That's what we're doing.
But you know what? That's the thing. Isn't it interesting about accountability, though? How accountability only happens in certain places, right? For certain people. Right. And I think that's always important to remember who's being put upon, right?
Yeah. Like I said, I mean, I think the Academy had to do something. I don't know that I agree with 10 years, but ultimately, nobody's saying he can't star in a movie anymore. Nobody's saying he can't continue his career. All right. They're saying that, you know what? The once a year that we have this gala, you can't sit down in 10 of them. Right. Mm-hmm. And who knows if halfway through there they change their mind. But I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, what I took away from that night was all these historic moments that happened at that show. Aside from that got no talking about because of what happened.
Yep.
And I feel for
what it was people. Like. It's like when the day Farrah Fawcett died. Nobody remembered Farrah Fawcett died the same day Michael Jackson died. It's the same thing. Nobody's going to remember anything that happened except for that. And like you said, Scotty, it's a shame. And I'm glad that there were a lot of people that instead of, I saw a lot of creators do it, instead of posting the Will Smith video, they were like, hey, let's focus on these videos instead. And they were showing clips of those people winning their Oscars. And I thought that was a really cool way for creators to jump in and just kind of, try to flood flood everybody's timeline with some good stuff instead of that. Not that it worked very well.
It took over, man. I mean,
that was crazy.
When something hits like that on TikTok, it's like, well, there's my whole FYP.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and it was like five major events where everybody was like, "Let me give you my 2 cents on what just took place." Like, I don't care what your thoughts are on that. Like, why does everybody got to weigh in on that?
Yeah. Well,
I made videos and I took them down because I was like, you know what? I don't need to put my 2 cents in on it.
I did a joke.
That's all there is.
That's
all there is to it. At the end of the day, no one needs to hear or wants to hear. I did a video where it was like, when we get back to New York, we need to contact Leslie. See if she can minimize the damage. And I was like, you know what? It's just it's a lame joke, and I don't need to.
No, I mean,
trying to be funny.
People are going to talk about it. It was relevant. It was something that happened. People are going to talk about it. I don't fault that. Like I said, my heart went out to the people that weren't getting talked about. So I put out a video about the woman who did Rita Moreno's role, and it was just a clip of her speech, and because I thought her speech was beautiful, and I think it was a moment that nobody was talking about, given she was an openly queer woman, and the first who had ever been given an Oscar.
Yep.
So that was historic.
We talked about this recently on the show, talking about how, negative stuff is constantly, that's what thrives on the internet, and it gets clickbait and all that kind of stuff. But building things up, and I think in political TikTok, kind of bringing it back into what we do, showing more positive things is I think, especially leading up to the midterms, about, good candidates that you support and people doing the right thing is always a good route to go in general, right?
Well, and I really like Scotty's. I really like this approach. Like when you started going into, explaining all the bills that are sitting on the desk, or all the bills that, like you said, had they gone untouched, had they not got stripped down so that everybody would vote, where would we actually be? How would that actually make the Democrats, platform and agenda look? And I think that if we can find ways to get that, to drive that home, I think that would be a huge bullet to use for the midterms, because it's like, look, y'all can call us, you can say Joe Biden's not doing anything, but here are the facts. You can say the Democrats aren't doing anything, but here are the facts.
Well, that's so my content for the last week or so has been just kind of the talking points that I'm hearing that promote apathy, that promote the both parties are the same, are opposite sides of the same beast, and they're both right wing, and all this apathy, all this negative Democratic Party stuff, and I try to what's the talking point? Well, Biden could do all this with executive orders. If Congress can't get it done, he can just do it with executive orders. So I make a video. Hey, let's talk about executive orders and what you can and can't do with them. And I provide the facts that these issues that we're talking about are not things that he can do with an executive order, because they're either budgetary or they're actually making a law, and you can't do that with an executive order. Or he could use quantitative easing to create UBI and help these people through the pandemic. Okay, well, this is what quantitative easing is, and it actually causes inflation, and it actually causes more income inequality. So no, you can't use that to fix that. So making videos where I'm taking their points and I'm basically providing the factual information, and at the end trying to channel it back to, this is how you change it by voting, and try to end with a change happens through your vote.
And where can people find you, Scotty?
Oh, I'm up on TikTok, Scotty Banks. You see the scroll on the bottom. I'm on Instagram, same tag name.
Yeah.
I try to provide factual information. I do a little bit of research.
You are awesome. And, the world needs more facts right now. In a world that is very factless and misinformation is everywhere, we need facts more than ever. So
we
I
do.
appreciate that, and I appreciate that kind of content because we all know I saw it so much this week in general,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of people out there with just picking sound bites or doing this, and I mean, it just gets ridiculous. So thank you for all of your factual content. It's much appreciated.
Yes.
Thank you.
And thanks for coming on the show, brother. I appreciate it. And
Absolutely.
always a good conversation with you. So with that being said, I'm going to wrap up the show. So go check out Scotty Banks because he's going to be fighting the good fight for these midterm elections and
Yeah, baby.
forward. Voting is important. Getting our message out there is important. So let's just keep fighting, because the one thing that I'm taking from Ketanji Brown Jackson being confirmed is that we can win these fights.
You got it.
Absolutely.
With that being
Absolutely.
said,
Absolutely. Thank you guys for watching.
Yeah, thank you for watching the show.
Thanks,
Maggie and I will
everybody.
see you guys next Friday, and I'll leave you as I always do with much love and keep fighting.
Bye, everybody.